Hi, Theo, welcome.
There you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, nice to see you.
Micah Bar.
How's it going?
You gotta start your video here. Start your
Good,
video.
very good. Hi, Maria, welcome.
Hi, good to see you all.
You too.
Oh, look at everybody that we know.
Hi, Barb.
Hi, how are you, Laura? Thank you for doing this. Hi, Joanna.
Yeah.
Why
Hi.
are you not out here? Joanna, we should be at West Denmark.
Yes, I've been missing that.
It's the weekend of the year. We should be having this is like in lieu of the national farm gathering we've been having.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, and wow, we just have had too much going on to even think about doing this. Laura, you're just the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an invitation from the Nurturing Communities Network saying, hey, you want to do a roundtable on community farming? So everybody, I was so encouraged, everybody saying, yeah, let's do it. So I think it was all of us.
Maria, where are you these days?
Just down the street from Sukasa in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Mhm.
Theo, I think the last time we saw you was in LA.
Yeah, I'm actually back in St. Louis, where I'm from. I've been here for like a year at this point. I started feeling the burnout I've heard other folks talk about in LA. And so I decided to take a little time away from living full time at a worker house, and then had started making plans to like travel and go to some places and stuff, but then a pandemic happened. So I
Seriously?
kind of, yeah, so I that kind of put a kibosh on that at this point. So yeah, so I've been in St. Louis with my family and hanging out here, and yeah.
Our friends at West Denmark Church here in Luck always marvel when we go on, like when we go on vacation, they wonder, well, where would Mike and Barb go on vacation? The last time we went, it was to LA.
It's a better place to go
Like,
on vacation, I think, than to live.
Yeah.
you know, you just got to have your fill of concrete every now and again.
Yeah, I guess so.
Concrete
traffic.
highways and, you know, I don't know.
Having no clue and having nobody know where they are themselves when you get lost.
Yeah,
We went without
it was
bad idea.
well, if you just keep taking one of the freeways to another one of the freeways, eventually you'll find yourself on the right freeway, I think.
If you keep asking strangers, many of them are kind, and a few of them actually know something, and I've been really impressed by how willing they are to help a wanderer from out in the sticks figure out what the public...
Even in LA, Joanna?
I haven't tried LA. Cities, yes, but LA is farther than I've gotten. Chicago, Boston, New York City.
I found the East, absolutely, but when we got off, accidentally off an exit, Theo, and Mike said, how do we get back on? And I'm just like, I have no idea. And we stopped at a gas station, and it was just so many people going, look at your phone. And we go, but we don't have a smartphone. Can we buy a map? No.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, I don't know. For a long time, the LA Worker had a copy of what's what's that one book that they used to have where it had all the street maps in it? In LA, it's like
Oh,
this
yeah.
thick, you know.
Yeah.
They used to keep one of
Wow.
those in each car, but
We
yeah, and
were
it doesn't. LA doesn't necessarily make sense. It's not just like a grid. There's like mountains randomly, so your
Oh.
street might all of a sudden run into a mountain and stop going and whatnot. So
we were on a freeway on this trip when we saw you, and we're coming back to Pasadena, and the freeway we were on got closed down and blocked because there was a fire, like a grass fire.
Oh.
You said them.
Just
Yeah, anyway.
just like everywhere, it was everywhere. And to make a long story short, the only one who could get us where we needed to be was our daughter on her smartphone back in Wisconsin, telling us which way to go.
oh geez,
But we got there.
yeah.
Ooh, just hi, Eric.
Hello.
Welcome,
Great
Eric.
beard, Mike. Love the beard.
He can look a little Gandalfish.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Eric.
Well, the
Thank you.
panelists have all made it. Let's hope we have some folks to come, huh? Theo, what's up, man? Where are you at?
Oh, you just missed my whole explanation. I'm in St. Louis right now, spending some time with the family, and then kind of got stuck here with the pandemic happening, and have been hanging out since then.
Cool. Kind of thinking about Catholic Worker Farms or what?
Well, I like to keep up on what folks are doing around the Catholic worker movement.
Okay.
But I have a buddy who's been here for a while who runs like a pretty decent sized garden. They have like 25 beds, and at the Catholic church, Catholic school where I've gotten employment recently. And he's a Peter Morin devotee himself. And so we've been trying to spread the good word of Peter Morin around. But yeah, mostly just wanted to see what you all folks are doing.
Keep your finger on the pulse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Welcome,
Nice.
Colleen and Greg. Welcome, Patricia. I think I'll give one more minute and then we'll get started, but can you all hear me okay? Great. Welcome, Patricia. If you want to go ahead and rename yourselves, it looks like if you are affiliated with a Catholic worker community, whether you live there or not, go ahead and you can add that to your name if you prefer. If you want to put pronouns, you can do that as well. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Hey, Eric.
Hi.
Okay, well, I'm going to get us started because we don't have that much time together today. Thanks, everybody, for coming. It's really just a delight to see your faces. And we're going to start our time together reading. I'm going to read aloud this poem. If you have the agenda I sent, you can follow along. And actually, I will screen share because sometimes with poetry, it's just nice to see the words. This poem is called Sorrow Is Not My Name by Ross Gay. After Gwendolyn Brooks. No matter the pull toward brink, no matter the florid, deep sleep awaits, there is a time for everything. Look, just this morning, a vulture nodded his red, grizzled head at me, and I looked at him, admiring the sickle of his beak. Then the wind kicked up, and after arranging that good suit of feathers, he up and took off, just like that. And to boot, there are on this planet alone some two naturally occurring sweet things, some with names so generous as to kick the steel from my knees: agave, persimmon, stickball, the purple okra I bucks at the market. Think of that. The long night, the skeleton in the mirror, the man behind me on the bus taking notes. Yeah, but look. Me filled. My neighbor sings like an angel, and at the end of my block is a basketball court. I remember my color's green, I'm spring. For Walter Akins, that's Sorrow Is Not My Name by Ross Gay. Welcome again, everybody. We'll take a brief moment to go around our circle and just say your name, and if you are affiliated with a community, what community you're with. And well, trying to see how we could do that easily. Any ideas?
Just calling on people.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, I'll start, I'll kick it off. My name is Laura, and I'm part of the Common Home Farm community in Bloomington, Indiana. And Alice, do you mind going next?
I'm
there,
Alice McGarry. Yes, my computer is very unresponsive, so it takes like 5 times of trying to press the button for it to work. But I'm Alice McGarry. I'm with the Mustard Seed Community Farm in central Iowa and Catholic worker.
Thanks, Alice. I'm going to call on the next person, and then the next person calls on somebody else, and we'll just continue on that way. So after you go, choose somebody to have them introduce themselves next. Larry, would you go next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Larry Sell. I'm not a part of a Catholic worker community now, but I have been in the past. And that was quite a few years ago in the early 1980s. It was two Catholic worker houses I lived with in Omaha, Nebraska. I know a couple people here. I know Mike and Barb, been out there. I don't know if they remember me. And actually, I don't know Alice, but I think I know your mother, Alice, Barbara, right? Yes, I met her. So that's okay. Let's hear from Joanna.
Hi, I'm Joanna from St. Francis Farm in Orwell, New York. Internet iffy, doing my best. And next, Barb, would you like to introduce yourself?
Not even seeing my face. Oh, Barb Cass from Anathoth Community Farm up in Luck, Wisconsin, and we'll do 2 for 1 here, Joanna. Mike Miles from Anathoth Community Farm, and then just to add 2 other people that are with us on the farm this winter. We're going to go to Stephen and Lindsay.
Let's hear from Maria next.
Hi there. I'm Maria Berg. I've been a part of a couple Catholic worker farms and currently on the south side of Chicago in extended community to Sioux Casa and Emmaus House Catholic workers. I'll be talking today about Sioux Casa Farm. Theo, why don't you go?
I'm Theo. I spent about 7 years in total at the Los Angeles Catholic Worker, like a year and a half at the now defunct Karen House Catholic Worker, and a couple other years at some other Catholic Worker places. But I'm currently living in St. Louis, not at a Catholic Worker. Let's see. How about Colleen?
Hey everyone, I'm Colleen. I'm currently in Madison, Wisconsin, and up until about a year ago was living at the Houston Catholic Worker in Texas. Now am involved in the slowly and ever forming Madison Catholic Worker, which has been on the minds and hearts of many people in this area for years and is still hopefully steadily moving toward reaching fruition. Actually, Emma Close, who also signed up for the call, just got here, so she can provide her intro at the same time, perhaps. Just name and who you're affiliated with.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. I just got off of work. My name is Emma. Probably a reiteration of what Colleen just said. I didn't hear what she had said, but I was in Houston with the Houston Catholic Worker Casa Juan Diego for 4 months, and interested in Catholic worker farms and dissecting, learning more about the agronomic university, the returning to the roots philosophies of Peter Morin.
I'm supposed to pass to someone. We'll pass to Eric. Carlberg is who I was looking at. I know there's 2 Erics.
Hi, my name is Eric Carlberg. I run an educational farm in the northwest suburbs of Chicago that is not a Catholic worker farm. I will pass it to the other Eric.
Hello, Eric Anglada from St. Isidore Catholic Worker Farm, Southwest Wisconsin, just across the border from Illinois and Iowa on Ho-Chunk, Meskwaki, Sauk territory here. Let's go with Lindsay Potter.
Hello.
Sorry, did Lindsay already go?
I think my audio wasn't working before. Can you hear
Okay, great.
Oh, hi. I'm Steven, and Lindsay is out milking a cow right now. But we live just a couple 100 feet from Barb and Mike in another house on Anathoth Community Farm in Wisconsin. So, hi. Evan, did you go?
Hi, my name is Evan Howard. I live in Montrose, Colorado, or I live outside Montrose, Colorado. And I do not live on a Catholic worker farm, though we have had chickens for about 35 years and goats for about 25. And I'm just really interested to see what all you folks are doing. I'm supposed to pass this around, gallery view. How about Barb? Has Barb spoken? Oh.
I think we heard from Barb already.
How about Greg?
Hi, Greg McAvoy Jensen from the Sacramento area in California. Discerning how is it that in my suburban life I can respond to Peter's call to the Green Revolution, and I'll pass to Patricia.
Yeah, I'm Patricia Wright in Northwest Wisconsin. We're not associated with a worker community. I spent a chunk of time at Mary House in New York many years ago, and we now have a CSA farm here in Prairie Farm. And I'll pass it to my husband, Mike.
And so we've had our CSA for the last just about 30 years, and now we're transitioning into slowing down a little bit, but we're still going to dive deeper into those values that held our farm together of community and social justice and care for the land. And so now, let's see, I'm gonna put my glasses on to see. Amy, have you spoken?
I have not. Let's see if I can get my video on. I am a volunteer with Mustard Seed Community Farm with Alice in Central Iowa. And I am part of what we call the farm team. And I'm just here to listen and understand a little bit more about the larger culture of Catholic worker farms. Thanks. I just don't know. I'm on my phone and multitasking, honestly, so I have no idea who has yet to go. Can someone volunteer?
Hi, I am Chloe. I used to work and live on the Lake City Catholic Worker a few years back, and I'm still very much interested in Catholic workers, so I figured I'd show up and keep a pulse on the action. I too am sure there's so many people here. How am I supposed to know who went yet? M?
Hey everyone, I'm Emily. I'm from the Cleveland Catholic Worker. Nice to see you all. How about Alice?
I think Alice kicked it off for us. Was there anybody we missed? Did we get everybody? Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. I sent around the agenda, but the schedule for the day is to hear from a few people about what's going on their farm, sort of framed through the lens of learnings, questions, and moments of grace. So we'll just be able to listen. If you have a pen and a piece of paper at the ready to write down a few things that stand out to you, or themes or questions, that might be helpful. And then after that, we'll have a short time for a writing reflection, and then we'll break into small groups for some more intimate discussion. And I'm going to kick off our presentation just briefly, tell you a little bit about Common Home Farm. We are a small community of 2 families who have been on 10 acres of land for a year and a half, going on almost 2 years since we started working on the property. We have 2 homes and a tiny house, and in the tiny house we do hospitality for 1 person experiencing homelessness at a time. And last year was our first growing season, and we grew and ate a lot of good food and exhausted ourselves pretty thoroughly, and feel like we're ready to kind of do it a little bit better this time around, hopefully. Let's see, I was going to start with some of the questions we're dealing with right now. One of the big ones is the desire to make space for more people to join the community, and the sort of obstacles that come with that, which include the Monroe County Planning Department and all the kind of bureaucracy around what it means to build another house out here. So we're wading into that, and hopefully in March we will have officially subdivided the land so that we can build another house. But one of our live questions is sort of, do you create the infrastructure first, or do you wait for people to show interest and then build infrastructure? So if folks have thoughts about that, we can talk about that later. We're also talking a lot about our organizational structure, what we are in terms of what the government might recognize that we are. Do we organize as an LLC? Do we not organize sort of officially through any legal means, or do we try to become a nonprofit? But basically, what kind of structure will hold our member agreements? And we're in the process of writing those down, which takes a long time. So I think those are some And I mean, for me, there's also the question of hospitality out here. We've had 3 different guests stay with us since we started, and it's a challenge, I think, for guests to be 10 miles from town, whether they have a car or not, and in their own structure, sort of sharing the kitchen and the bathroom in the main house, but having their own separate space, and how we stay connected and involved with each other's lives. Some moments of grace have been our neighbors up here. We have really great neighbors, one of who plowed our driveway recently when we got 12 inches of snow. And just since we've moved here, just have had a lot of generosity from our neighbors, which has felt amazing. And our outdoor prayer spaces. David Waters, who's one of the community members, created 2 sort of semicircle bird nest type areas, one in the woods and one sort of in between the 2 houses. And we've been doing, since the pandemic hit, a lot of outdoor prayer and song and fire. And I think those have been more essential than I maybe would have thought when we were first. I don't know why I would have thought that, but when other things seem more urgent, sometimes it's hard to prioritize, the spiritual rejuvenation that we need. And I think with that, I will pass. I don't want to take too long. So I'll pass on to Alice McGarry from Mustard Seed.
Laura, how many minutes am I supposed to talk for? I'm going to set myself a timer so I can keep on track.
Like about 5 minutes. It's not very long.
All right. Well, we'll see if I can. Anyway, my timer was already set for 14, so I'm going to stop at 9. Meaning when my timer gets to 9, that will be 5 minutes. Because I couldn't figure out how to change the timer. Hi, I'm Alice. Can you guys hear me all right? Okay, great. So I'm here with, I'm trying to represent the Mustard Seed Community Farm. We are here in central Iowa, about 7 miles from the closest town, on the ancestral lands of the Iowa and Meskwaki people. And we've been here on this farm for 13 years. And I'm trying to think, our farm's about 11 acres, but we also have this 2-acre vineyard that we take care of. So it makes it about 13 acres. And we do a lot of things here. We do a lot of Catholic workery things. And we have a lot of Catholic worker values. Definitely, I think 2 of our big priorities on our farm is, one is to just grow a lot of good food that we share with a lot of people. And then also just sort of nurturing community, both with the people that are involved with our farm and just in general, trying to create a healthy community. And some things that are, I would say maybe a little bit different about our farm, our community structure. Then I think I go a lot of places, lots of Catholic workers are like, who's in your community? And those are like the people that live in the house together. And I think that on the farms, it's a little different, but our farm, I think, has always been different, because when we started our farm, we didn't have a house. So we started farming on this land and we were just camping out here. And so from the beginning of our farm, we've had a core team of people who didn't all live together and didn't all live here on the farm, but who were meeting together regularly to make big decisions together about mission and vision and maybe big expenses and big projects, and also sharing usually weekly work together and also sharing fun events and sharing food together, but not most of us not sharing that daily life together. And that is still the case. We have slowly built, we've slowly repaired buildings and built places to live, but we don't really have much housing on our farm still for people in the winter. We have a capacity for more people in the summer, but really at the moment we're still only able to do two easily, I guess, in the winter. And what are my questions? I wrote these notes and now I'm trying to follow them. The question was, what are live learnings? I guess this year, I feel like we had a lot of learnings about COVID and about maybe trying to figure out how to be safe and how to still be welcoming and still be a community while being a safe community. So a place that we can welcome people to and they can know that they are safe. So actually, our farm has not had a lot of rules. We've been pretty like, you can be on our farm team if you want to come to the meetings, you can be a work share if you want to show up. And this year we've had more rules and to try to do it with a lot of transparency and consistency. We didn't, we had lots more restrictions on kids and visitors on the farm this year. And that was really challenging. But I think also, I think people responded with consistency and care and with this knowledge that all these decisions were about, community health and that like we wanted everyone to be safe and we wanted our older people to be safe. And that, anyway, so that was a lot of our learnings this year. I think big questions right now for me. So my husband and I, we are really full-time here and have been for a lot of years and just kind of dealing with some of the struggles of hard work and sometimes isolation and just trying to figure out how to adjust priorities and have space for perhaps changing vocation and changing physical and mental needs and how to navigate that within community and within like a bigger project, like how to honor our responsibility to this project, but also honor our own vocations and our own like mental and physical health and the health of our community. So how to balance that has been a big question. And then I guess finally I'll end with like a moment of grace is maybe two big graces this year, but our work share team, so our volunteers that come out once or twice a week to help with our harvest, they've just been really a powerhouse this year, and people just really made a lot of sacrifices and a lot of commitments, and I think really came together to help each other and to like help the community. So that was really great. And then also yesterday we had a meeting with most of our farm team or a large portion of our farm team to kind of really discern about our goals and our mission this coming year, and in particular to support myself and my husband with our well-being. And there was a lot of love and care and creativity, a lot of creativity from our team, and I just really super grateful for that. Yeah, just really, really super grateful for that. I don't know how I did on my time, but I think I'm done. I think I was close.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, you're great. And next, let's hear from Mike Miles and Barb Cass at Anathoth.
Okay. I'll start out because Barb's been preoccupied with a bunch of other stuff and she can jump in if she wants to. So we've been here for 35 years. And the grace that's in our lives 35 years later is all the people that help make this place be what it is, both with their labor and their contributions. And, you know, we've got, unlike some of our farms, we've got plenty of room here. We actually right now have 2 empty houses because one of our community members is splitting his time between Germany doing anti-nuclear work and living with his wife and being here at the farm. And another one of our houses that just emptied was from, I don't know, she's not a community member as much as she's our Syrian daughter, Jafra. Some of you know her. And a woman from Syria that ended up here, was 8 years, and just in the middle of COVID was able to get back to Europe and move in with her mom and her sister, and then her boyfriend, who was a long story, and is in Paris, and she ended up with Talal in Paris. And so people come and go from here, and we end up with, you know, yeah, we can do hospitality and whatever. And that's how Stephen and Lindsay ended up here working on farms. We're really connected with farms through Wisconsin Farmers Union. They needed a place to live for the winter and have their baby. So we're having like any time now, the 4th baby to be born out at the farm. So, you know, isn't that fun? Our background is, you know, our main mentors were Liz and Phil at Jonah House. We started, you know, been Catholic workers since like 77. And part of the journey is through anti-nuclear stuff, nonviolent resistance, and most recently, about the first 2/3 of being on the farm, it was all nonviolent resistance to war and occupation and international solidarity. And since 2008, we've been farming for real. I mean, it's like so for real that I fill out Schedule F. I belong to Wisconsin Farmers Union. I have to fill out USDA surveys now and again. Yeah, we're all in on farming, and the kind of farming that we do is climate farming. We're all about putting carbon dioxide back in the ground where it belongs, creating fertility and doing all the things that it does. We do what we call sacramental agriculture. And the short definition of that is if a sacrament is a visible expression of an invisible grace, then trying to do agriculture sacramentally, it's recognizing the invisibility of the Creator God and how God put it all together. And then the visible expression is using creation the way creation was intended to produce living organisms in the web of life. So we do a lot of biomimicry, and we pay a lot of attention to microorganisms, because the most important creatures on any farm are the ones that you can't see. They're the ones that live 3 feet under your feet. They're the ones who hitchhike on you, creating more genetic material in and on you than the genetic material that makes up your body. And it's taken a while to learn how to pay attention to all those extra critters, but we do. And part of doing what we do on the farm is not only to have a good practice. We raise grass-fed beef, chicken, and pork. We have a big garden. We did maple syrup until we got hit by a derecho in 2019. It blew down all of our woods. The houses escaped damage pretty much, but the woods are still down. You can only crawl through the woods. You can't even walk through the woods. And the way we described to people this summer, if you came here, it's like going into the future where the pandemic is gone. It stops at the driveway. We do what we always do on the farm, but we've been blown to pieces with climate change. So it's, yeah, welcome to the future. Pandemic's gone, climate change is here. You know, Texas just happened, right? So we're doing as much as we can with all of that. We're also trying to pay attention to issues of obviously being outside of Minneapolis, where it started, justice, access of minorities to land, and everything that goes along with raising food justly, and making it nutritious and making it accessible to people who most of the people that buy stuff from us are people who can afford the best food there is to buy. And so part of our job is to figure out how to get it to people who deserve it but don't have the money. So we work as much as we can at that. I have a YouTube page that has like 600,000 views that I do videos, instructive videos that people watch, and they go crazy over them. They love them. So we have good practice. We work with Wisconsin Farmers Union to change policy, because it's not good enough just to have good practice. You have to have good policy, and you have to be acting with the moral arc of the universe turning towards justice. Barb, anything?
So questions we have is, we are now both getting Social Security and dealing with what all other older farmers are in just the amount of work and the sustainability of the pace. And now our last parent has died. My mom just died last month. And so kind of moving on to looking some at our own mortality, and then how do we move where does the farm go from here? So that's probably the biggest question we're dealing with right now.
Thanks so much, Barb and Mike. Let's hear from Joanna.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Joanna from St. Francis Farm in Orwell, New York, Onondaga Nation ancestral land. Came out here 20 years ago when I was 19 and had just begun to realize that the stuff that I ate and wore and used was generally produced in a way that damaged the workers and the earth. And I thought, all right, I want to see if I can produce more of what I need and have some to share with some of the people who tended to get squashed in this system. And I talked my mother and brother into coming along with me, which was a delight. Our mission is to live a gospel-based alternative to the consumer culture. We don't do anything very large scale, but we've got a big garden, a small feral orchard, milk goats, meat rabbits, laying hens, pigs, grow food for ourselves and extra to give away to. We're in an area that's reasonably land rich, but quite money poor, and where a lot of people are renting and don't have access to land. So there are a fair number of folks who could use more fresh produce than they can necessarily afford. So we can help a bit with that. Also with helping neighbors learn how to make and grow more of their own, somewhat cheaply and reasonably sustainably. We also have somewhat over 100 acres of woods, and we harvest lumber for our own use, and we do sell some of that to neighbors who are fixing up houses or doing craft projects. Other than that, we do what one of our elderly neighbors calls neighboring, which he says everybody used to do and hardly anybody has time for anymore. That's just small things, checking in on elders who are lonesome or isolated, mentoring kids sometimes, doing counter-recruiting work at the local high school. Sometimes we've been able to do hospitality for injured migrant workers, bringing local community helping groups together to work on how we can cooperate better. As far as recent questions and graces, this last year has been full of questions. Some of that's come with COVID, and the elections and the rise of QAnon have all piled us up with some questions about how to be a good neighbor in this time when people's basic perception of what's real and who matters is diverging so widely. We've always been in a fairly different place politically than many of our neighbors, but mostly we've been able to bring people together around nature exploration and gardening and feeding people, which pretty much everyone agrees with. That's harder when people come and lecture us about why we shouldn't wear masks because it's faithless or it's part of a communist plot. That's harder when some of the dear people who have prayed for and with us for a long time start talking to us about how we need to understand that Satan is attacking the world through Jews, Black people, LGBT people, liberals, etc., etc. I know and love some of the people who believe those things, and I see that they don't match the stereotype I would have of anybody who would think or say that. And of course, I also know and love a fair number of the people they're afraid of. I've been trying to respond in a way that's both honest and loving, but sometimes I just get cross and sometimes I get disheartened. And we've lost touch with some people who I really miss. Also, there's always been a bit of a challenge about how we live an alternative to the consumer culture, while at the same time remaining really open and accessible to people who have been somewhat immersed in a culture that is getting more and more different from us. That used to be an issue back when the farm hosted retreat groups and their chaperones began to say, look, we want the kids to help poor people, we want them to feel good about themselves, we do not want them exposed to alternative ways of living. And we said, okay, then you probably need to take them somewhere else. For quite a while, we've been welcoming individuals or family groups, and that has often been a quite good thing. But that's just been mostly for a few weeks or months. Now we're coming up on a transition and need to find new people to join us for the long term, or else this Catholic worker is over and I'm off to look for a new place. My mother is getting older and just is getting tired, wants a life that's a bit quieter. My brother, who's had a part-time business, evenings and weekends, building banjos. He loves the work, the business is growing, he's moving out to build banjos full-time. This is still the life I want, and I'm looking for folks to join me. And I'm realizing how odd this life seems to other people as I try to pitch it. Obviously, the working for room and board rather than wages thing is odd for people, and we just aren't set up in a way that makes wages terrifically possible. Some people worry that we're communist because we give food and help away and we get donations from people we haven't done anything for. Some people find us too religious and others find us insufficiently orthodox, and we're still figuring out how to navigate that boundary. And manual labor does seem to get somewhat less popular, and there just is a lot of it that has to be done, which is why I can't stay here alone, but would need to find some other folks to pitch in with it. So either I'll be learning how to open the place to a new community, a new phase of the farm's life, or I'll be finding out how to fit myself into somebody else's community. I remind myself that it's an adventure. Sometimes I feel cheerful about this, and sometimes I do not remotely. But yeah, still, always there's grace. This pandemic year, various neighbors who hadn't heard of the farm before found us through a newly started Neighbors Helping Neighbors group. I can get frustrated about some of the prejudices prevalent in the local community, but I also really admire the way that people continue to try to look out for each other, and that's really been brought out by the pandemic. And also, on a smaller scale, the pandemic's brought us people who are interested in having nature trails to walk on that are a little less crowded than the state park ones, and kids who they can't do their normal things with, they've brought out sometimes to learn where food comes from and help us dig potatoes or do other things that they find fascinating and that we really enjoy having their company on. And still, that makes an opening sometimes for connections with people with quite different politics. I remember this spring when we did an herb giveaway, then seeing my mother walking off afterwards down one of our nature trails with the guy in the NRA shirt, both of them talking about bird watching very happily. And I thought, this is good. And I think that the loneliness of the pandemic time has made us focus more on some of the ways of connection that are easy to lose track of. We can't visit our elder friends anymore because we don't want to make them sick, but we've been doing the long phone conversations, letters, shared books sometimes. We found a lot more people who have time to write now. And there has been a different kind of focus, I think, on prayer and on rooting again in the place where we're all one, however solitary we might be feeling. And that's a grace, and I'm grateful for it. That's all, thanks.
Thank you so much, Joanna. Let's pass to Eric.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Okay. And thanks, Laura, for putting this on and all the effort that you've put into this. It's lovely to see one another's faces. I'm Eric from St. Isidore Catholic Worker Farm in the southwest corner of Wisconsin, in the driftless bioregion, which is the unglaciated, hilly part of southwest Wisconsin and this part of the Midwest. I like to think of it as the hidden gem in the Midwest. Been living in the driftless now for, I think, 13, 14 years. Most recently outside of Cuba City, where we've been for 5 years. Before that, I was on New Hope Catholic Worker Farm. Been thinking about how Brenna, my partner, was just on the phone with a friend of ours who lives down in Austin, Texas, and lost power. Their pipes burst. So their family of 6 moved in with their neighbors across the street, and it was like an incredible week that she had. Just this sense of community, and she's like really sad that they've moved back into their house. So I'm grateful for that I get to live in community in this way all the time. And I've been thinking some about Peter Morin's the idea of a green revolution, and that was Peter's phrase for kind of the whole Catholic worker program. And the green revolution, in referring to the Irish monks, the early medieval Irish monks who saved culture, agriculture, lived in community, and spiritual community as the Roman Empire was collapsing. And Peter Morin used that expression because he felt like we're living through an age of crisis and collapse, and that Catholic worker communities are really meant to be beacons of light and bridges to more saner living and bringing together community and spirituality and manual labor activism. So I'm grateful that I get to live in a community of 6. Brenna and I, along with a family of 4, we've lived in community now for over a decade. And when community happens, it's like a magical thing. When it's able to click together, it's a beautiful thing. I've been living in different Catholic worker communities for 20 years, and I know the ups and downs of communities. But it's just a huge blessing, especially that I feel really during these times, as in times of isolation and disconnection, that we still have our rhythms of morning prayer and silence, and we share many of our meals together. We share lots of manual labor together. To some degree, we share child rearing. So it's a blessing to live this way. We are on 25 acres, and we have a mix of things. We have a small herd of cows, a combination of dairy and beef. We have a flock of hens. We have bees, and about a half acre or so in like no or low till vegetable gardens. The past couple of years, we've done a CSA, a mix of giving away, selling, and preserving and feeding our many visitors. So we do a variety of things. One of the things I've been doing during the pandemic is facilitating wild church gatherings, and getting looped into the wild church network of people bringing together spirituality and ecology, which is kind of, in the last few years, churches in different communities all over the continent have been spontaneously moving gatherings and worship and prayer outdoors. So I'm excited about that. Brenna has been spending a good part of this winter time up north in Minnesota, in solidarity with the Ojibwe-led resistance to Enbridge Line 3. I was able to join her for a week and get to spend time also at Hildegard House Catholic Worker in Duluth. Over the 5 years here, we've had a number of different things. We've been, since our previous community, we've been holding like a annual 4 or 5 day agronomic university gathering on different themes and splitting the day in half, spending half the day in manual labor and half the day in presentation, discussion, and reading, and beginning the day with morning meditation. So we've been holding different workshops. We have Mary Kay and Brenna lead a threshold singing group for women singing to people on thresholds of life, especially in hospice as people are dying in their last hours. We have had barn dances, we've had singing events, lots and lots of different visitors. Usually we have 1 to 2 other people living with us at any given time. we're taking 2021 as we keep banting about different words for it. It's not quite a sabbatical. It's maybe like a year of reflection or regrounding or reorientation, where we're just doing more intentional discernment around the future, and taking the pandemic opportunity to just have some time to reflect on questions of, do we want to have more community? Of all the different things that we've been doing over the past 5 years, what do we want to stick with? What do we want to maybe cast aside? Do we want to have interns? Do we want to continue agronomic university workshops? How do we balance activism and the work of the land? Also, just with COVID, we haven't been able to travel as much. So this year is going to be a little bit of a different year. We're not going to have any interns, and we're not going to do a CSA. We're going to do a bunch of cover cropping and small scale gardens and traveling, and probably some activism too. So thanks all. Good to see you. Good to be with you.
Thank you, Eric. And for our last speaker, let's hear from Maria.
Hi there, I'm Maria Berg. I am a part of the extended community at Sukasa Catholic Worker, and I'll kind of explain Sukasa and then explain the garden situation. So Sukasa Catholic Worker is in an old Franciscan friary, and was transferred from the Franciscans to the Catholic Workers about 30 years ago. At the beginning, the Catholic Workers wanted to support people who had experienced torture in Central America. So that was the start, and the starting founders were religious sisters and brothers. They quickly encountered the community in the person of Frida, who has run our soup kitchen for 28 years out of 30. Still there today, just saw her this morning as we helped with some donations. And she and they started a farm in the space where there used to be a church next to the Franciscan friary. And so the church had to come down because it was no longer in use, and there was concerns about its safety. And Frida and the founders of the house asked to turn it into a farm. So we got the resources to put topsoil down, to start creating hugelkultur beds, to put a fence around it, even to put some no longer functioning irrigation in. And for about the first 10 years, the farm was a venture of the house, and the house was also totally run by people who lived in the house. The next 10 years, the founders started to move out and explore different things, and the garden went into the care of Growing Home, which is an organization that uses gardening in Chicago, organic farming in Chicago, as a way to teach kind of job skills and help people who have been incarcerated or have other issues or challenges in life to get back into the job market and find stability. And then when the house at that time was also becoming more of a nonprofit, had an executive director, became less of a Catholic worker. And then in the last 10 years, the farm has been run by a woman named Brianne, who is a part of Growing Home after Growing Home decided to let go of the farm. And she's done a U-Pick strawberry farm. And the house was in the effort of becoming more of a Catholic worker again, which took a lot of energy. So just in the last couple years, we've at the house has decided it really wants to be a Catholic worker again, and has really done that effort, and has welcomed into one of the other buildings that we own a group called Let Us Breathe. And Let Us Breathe is a Black Lives Matter affiliated artist and activist group, and they have a vision for the garden. This is all to say, our learnings are that we as a house, in doing the work of hospitality, have not had the attention to also run a farm by ourselves, right? That's a lot of work to run a urban house of hospitality on the south side of Chicago and also run a farm. And that inviting people in to run the farm does not have the kind of stability or the kind of cooperation. When we've had one person, or one group leading the farm, it runs into the ground at some point, and there are opportunities to get more people involved, but with one person running out of capacity, it's just not, that person does not have the capacity in that moment when they're running out of time or interest or whatever else it is they're running out of to properly engage people to take over. That's a really rough time to create that transition. So it's been very interesting to see Let Us Breathe's Everybody Eats initiative, which encapsulates also preparing food for the community and finding other ways to engage in food sharing and food distribution, mutual aid efforts on the south side and the west side, but also to envision a garden that is run by a group of people, much like Alice started us off with the farm team, and see that group of people as like a flexible group of leaders who can help ease out these transitions. And so we're looking for how we can bring a group of people together who are predominantly Black and brown and predominantly femme-led, mostly women-led, and yet also recognize that this land is not ours. We occupy it. It's Odawa, Anishinaabe, and Potawatomi land, and that those people, as well as the Black and brown people who are our neighbors in the Back of the Yards community, have been systematically dispossessed of land. And so our role in not owning this garden, but sharing this space is really to maximize bringing people to the space and into the garden in ways that are allow them to express their culture, allow us to share our knowledge, allow us to share food. And that's a big question, right? Because all the systems of oppression in our world are trying to keep us apart and tell us that this is our land and we've not had this opportunity. And, you know, isn't it exciting to have creative control over a little square patch of ground? And it's just really hard also to like figure out how to share power and figure out how to equitably and justly come to decisions together. And so those are really the questions we're working through this year is in a group of growers where at least half of the people who we're looking to learn from are white, how do we still center the people of color, right? How do people who don't maybe know everything they need to know to run a garden can be the leaders? And how do we make sure that when each of us is running out of capacity, that the others are fully informed and able to, you know, lead and take control so that this garden can stop having these like abrupt changes in use and ownership and just smoothly continue to be an asset for the community that's open, even while there are issues of you know, liability and all these other things. And how also a group of people who don't live in a house can support the people living in the house, right? Because there's also been quite a bit of grace in having a bunch of strangers come into the garden for people who are living in the house. And then also like the reality of like, is this my house if I can't go out into the garden and just enjoy it? So it's really a complicated social situation, but it's one that I think a lot of us see a lot of good and justice and beauty coming from. And I think that's most of what I have to say. So I'll end there.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks everybody for sharing little snapshots of life at your places. And I know we'll have time in small group to hear from the folks that didn't share with all of us. What I'd like to do now is take about 10 minutes to just do a little writing reflection before we go into small groups to process. That was a lot of information from a lot of different people. So just a chance to reflect a little bit on what we heard. I have some writing prompts that I put in the agenda. I'm going to put them in the chat box. And I'll also just tell you what they are. You are welcome to use those if they're helpful to you, or to ignore them if they're not. But here are some ideas to get the writing going. You could start with one detail that grabbed your attention was, or I was inspired by, or I felt confused or overwhelmed by, or one question I have for the group is, or I'm curious to know more about, or something missing from our conversation is, or more broadly, how does today's conversation resonate or connect with your life? Or you can use a word or phrase that stood out to you or a line from the poem as a starting point, or of course, follow your muse. So lots of options. I'll tell us when our time is up. Feel free to, you know, turn your video off if you need to, take a minute to stretch, but I will call us back together in 10 minutes. Happy writing or break. I'll see you soon. go ahead and take a minute to finish up your last thought or sentence or return to your screen. So we're going to break into small groups now. There will be 3 to 4 people in each small group, and I'm just going to have them randomly assigned. So luck of the draw here. In your small groups, if you could first thing choose a note taker and choose one person to be a note taker and one person to be the facilitator. I find it easiest if the facilitator establishes a speaker order for the first, maybe just for the first bit of your meeting, just so that we can go around. You don't need to introduce yourself since we did that at the beginning, but offer some reflections or questions that came up for you. If you'd like to use your writing as a starting point and just read your writing to the group, you're welcome to do that. You certainly don't have to, but it could be a good starting point. And if you noticed any sort of common thread through the speakers, please feel free to bring those up. And then after everyone's had a chance to speak, go around again, reflect back on what was heard in the first round, and then just follow the conversation where it goes. You can keep using rounds or drop the rounds, whatever feels best for your group. And at the end of our time, 3:45, we'll come back together and have the note taker from each group give a short summary of what was talked about. Are there any questions before we break out? Does everybody feel comfortable joining the breakout rooms? You'll get a little dialog box that pops up that says join breakout room, whatever, and then you say yes, and you should be able to join and then leave at 3:00. I'll call us all back together. I'll close the breakout rooms at 3:45, so you shouldn't even have to leave your small group. And I will put the instructions in the chat box about this small group, if that's helpful. Are there any questions before we divide? Okay, here we go. See you soon.
We are the timely ones, the first four.
I was going to say this looks very much like the room I just left. But...
I've been in some meetings where you don't have a choice. It seems like they all have a choice to leave that, and it's not going to
Are you
automatically.
just stuck there?
Close, yeah.
Greetings, everyone.
Welcome back. Well, we don't have too much longer for our gathering, but let's hear a little bit about what the groups talked about or what came up. I don't know who your appointed people are either, so if you can just volunteer yourself as the person finishes up speaking. I think there were 5 groups, so we should hear back from 5 folks. And I will call on Marcus to kick it off, since that was the group I was in, and I know they are the appointed person. Do you mind? Thanks.
Good to see everybody again. Some of you I haven't seen in years. Sorry I was late today. And here's the notes that I have. We had Greg McAvoy Jensen of Elk Grove in so-called California, Joanna at St. Francis Farm, and myself, who used to be at Earth Abides Farm, and Laura, our host today. So Greg and his family, they have 7 kids, and they're looking for an easier transition from the nuclear family to the eco-village Catholic worker kind of thing. And Greg said he loved hearing from the group today. And they've got chickens and plenty of sun where they live. Joanna, we heard from her earlier today, but also talked a little bit more about how do we deal with the weariness and the challenges that the outer world is thrusting upon us. And I talked about my time at Earth Abides Farm in Calaveras County. And Laura was struck with the reality of change and transitions, and the question, how do we prepare for these changes that we can see that are coming? And it'd be great if the gifts that they're offering at their place can go on to other generations, whether or not it's the 501c3 methodology to, what are the methods to make things go on after we die or leave our places. And Laura also liked Eric's idea of the Sabbath year, taking a year off. So we did talk a little bit about those 501c3 kinds of issues. We also talked about family dynamics, our own kids and kids of other volunteers and community members, and those challenges of balancing work-life capacities. How do we make sure the work gets done? Always a perpetual question. Check.
Thanks, Marcus. Who would like to share next?
I can speak up briefly on what we talked about. So it was myself, and then Eric from St. Isidore, and then Evan from Montrose, Colorado, not officially a Catholic worker, but we all know he could be one. Anyways, so we talked about, just like generally our conversation tended to kind of meander towards kind of brushing on the work we do, and kind of Evan's really excited about his work on monasticism and social engagement and the intersection of, and like, please speak up if I'm not doing this great, but the intersection of monasticism, social engagement, agriculture, and how it all kind of beautifully flows together and has this long history. And then also discussed kind of the Joanna inspired a lot of conversation around like the people we serve or the communities that we live in, and just kind of having very different political views and sometimes being frustrated by that, but also seeking to bridge those different views.
and kind of how do we go about that, and kind of also that, I don't know, at least for me, kind of speaking to the confusion of like, why is it like this, that we, you know, see the world so differently politically, but can get along fine just as people. So yeah, I think that's a very succinct summary. Yeah.
Thanks, Chloe. Who's next?
I can jump in real quick. I was with Mike, and Patty was there for a second, and Larry. And Larry and I actually know each other super well. We were together yesterday. But we had a lot of fun talking to Mike, who runs Spring Hill Community Farm, which is a really awesome CSA model that is so member-led. He just had a great wealth of experience bringing in large numbers of people to his farm with very well organized tasks, and an advisory board of people that just generated ideas around the community and how to run things. So none of us are currently in Catholic Workers, but I really was impressed by his member-driven CSA, and think that there may be it might be a good model for other Catholic workers to think about. Sorry, Mike, I really plugged you. I don't know if you're able to be a consultant on any of these things, but Larry and I are definitely going to keep in touch with Mike because his model was really strong.
Thanks, Eric. And that reminds me that shoot me a message if you don't want to share your email contact information afterwards. Otherwise, I can make sure that people have a way to get in touch with each other to continue conversations after this. Who else? We have 2 more groups to report back.
I can go next.
Thanks.
Our group was Barb and Colleen and Emma and myself. And we, it was really interesting because I think each one of us had different language around this concept of transition and how we're looking through transition. So Colleen and Emma talked a lot about birds and trees and trying to find their way, whether they're going to be permanently grounded in a place or whether they are going to move around and migrate, which was just such an apt metaphor that we kept coming back to it throughout the conversation. I was really struck by the land, the permanence of the land and the transience of our, cooperation with it. Barb has talked more about her own life transition with her mother passing away so recently. And so that also led us to some wonderful questions, mostly from Colleen and Emma, about how we got here, like how we went through discernment and what it is like to be on a farm in winter and what it is like to be in a Catholic worker. And so we had a lovely conversation about our experiences and how we've come to be where we are, which may prove a guide to where we're going next.
Thanks, Maria. Who's our final speaker? Anybody? Maybe we hit everybody.
Should be Mike Miles.
Mike Miles, are you there?
Alice was gonna speak for us.
Oh, yeah, let me turn up.
What? You were the
here we
notator,
go.
Mike.
Oh.
I'm the facilitator.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do it. I could do it. No, sure. It was me and Alice and Theo and Robert. And we also were interested, it's a theme, transition. So just the different ways people are handling it. I'm gonna move over here because I'm hearing an echo from Barb. And some of what we talked about was the the need for contemplation and discerning where to go spiritually and all of that, and how to balance that with the urgency of using everything at our disposal to deal with climate change, and being on our farms in a way to make them more useful to our children and grandchildren in the 7th generation. How do we do that when we're transitioning? And yeah, how do we do that when we're transitioning? Is that okay? Everybody in our group good with that? Alice?
Yeah, I'm great with that. Sorry for the confusion, Mike. But thanks for doing it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I agree.
Laura, you're muted.
It looks like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Can you give hand signals? Or chat?
Or chat.
More technology, more problems.
Or log out and log back in.
If she does that, we'll all go away. She's the host.
Oh.
But she can try, yeah, the headphones is a good idea. Try plugging in your headphones. Sometimes that resets it.
You made it 1 hour and 58 minutes.
Classic Catholic worker technical problems.
It's a lesson in the fragility of complex networks.
I guess it's an opportunity to sing
Laura,
a song.
So is everyone thinking Sugar Creek Midwest Catholic Worker Gathering September is a go?
I think so. I think it should be, if we can.
Yeah, everyone's invited.
We could do everything out.
Yeah, everything outdoors.
Yeah.
Except
We
maybe
have
cooking.
camps.
No
Hey, Laura.
singing.
I got it. I got it. I think I'm back.
Great.
Sorry, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And if folks do want to stay on to just say hi and chat and catch up for a little bit, we can do that for 10 or 15 minutes. But of course, please feel free to leave if you need to. And thanks for being part of the conversation and the movement. And may you go in peace throughout the rest of the day.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
It's a joy to see everybody.
Thank you.
And thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
David, who I assume is with the kids.
They're kind of taking care of themselves.
Okay.
He's building a shed, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Theo.
How old are they now, Laura? How old is Alice and Leo?
Oh, Leo's birthday was yesterday. He's 6 now, and Alice is 8.
Wow.
So, yep, pretty big.
Every time we play Slamwich, I remember them.
Yep, we got that game after we visited you. It's a good one.
Good. I looked for one to send you and I have not ever found it again, but good.
Yeah, we tracked it down.
Well, I hope everybody could keep me in the loop since this is my first time at a meeting. So, hope you all got my email and name and so on, and invite me the next time.
Yeah, I got an email from Robert about an hour and a half ago,
Okay,
and
that was
said
me.
it's a quick turnaround, but why don't you hop on this call? And looks like you did. So that
Yeah, I saw it late, and I'm glad I did. So I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. We'll get your email from Eric, and I can make sure to put you in touch with the rest of the folks who are on the call if you have follow-up
Thank you very much.
questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just to be sure I understood right, the email list is opt out, not opt in, right? We'll all get everybody's contact
Correct.
information. Okay, thanks.
Marcus Pegasus throwing out a song idea there.
Yeah, hoping that I've nominated Theo to lead us in that.
Is it the Enneagram song?
I've got.
I'm not prepared for that.
Oh,
I nominate Marcus Pegasus to lead us in that.
oh, not that song, but I could lead you in something else.
I want
Alice, of course, lead us.
Well, I was gonna invite people. So we're trying this thing where we're if any of you are missing our craft retreat, we're trying this thing where we're just gathering together for an hour this Wednesday on Zoom to kind of share any craft projects or art projects you're working on, to spend kind of an hour together, hanging out, encouraging each other about each other's projects. So if you're interested in that, be happy to see you.
What time is that, Alice?
What?
Time?
What time is it?
Yeah, what time is the?
Wednesday, this Wednesday, 7 to 8. And if you go to the mustardseedfarm.org website, our Zoom link for our events is there. Or you could send me an email and I will try to find it and reply to you in time.
Is this going to be ongoing, Alice? We do Wednesday Zoom Lent stuff. So Wednesdays during Lent isn't going to work for us, but I would love to do that with you guys.
Yeah, I think we're going to do it once a month, and I think we don't have our next time set. So if you want to put a plug in for a time, I would love to hear it.
Okay, great. Chloe, are you still making kombucha?
I wish, is the short answer. But the long answer is that I have this really wacky work schedule right now where I work for 2 weeks straight out in the desert, doing wilderness therapy. And it's wonderful and chaotic. And so I love my job right now, but it is very inhibitive for fermentation. So like, thanks for asking. Here's a hilarious example of, I thought I'd figured out a good system where I was like, I'm going to be able to do fermented ginger beer and I'll just slow ferment it in my fridge, in my room. And then I'll be able to come back and the slow ferment, it'll be perfect. So I had 2 bottles in there. And then I went and left for the desert for 2 weeks. And then I came back from the desert and I was like, oh, I'm exhausted. I've been working for 2 weeks in the winter. Like, I just want to collapse. But first, to put my groceries in my fridge. And the only thing that was in there was the 2 bottles of ginger beer. And one, I later learned when I opened it yesterday, was totally flat and had nothing happening in it. And the other one, I quickly learned when I opened the fridge, had exploded.
Oh.
At some point in the previous 2 weeks. Just random glass shards everywhere.
Oh, no.
Yes. So in summary, desperately trying to figure out the fermentation, have been eagerly following the action from the Lake City Catholic Worker because they seem to be moving along at some pace. I've been meaning to swing in and really see how it is on the ground level, see if the product's diminished at all in my absence. But yeah, as for me personally, we are currently at a fermentation standstill. It's funny, all my friends know that I do kombucha, and so I've really resorted to more of a hands-off coaching approach. So if anybody has fermentation dreams, they can email me. I provide digital fermentation coaching.
I think there's a real niche there, Chloe. I think you could quit your day job and just be a fermentation coach.
It's incredible. I wouldn't have thought this would be useful, but seriously, I get so many unknown numbers texting me being like, okay, so I have a SCOBY, an X and Y and Z. And I'm like, oh, yes, I will do the Catholic worker hospitality to your SCOBY. I will provide it food and services from afar.
Which desert were you out doing the wilderness?
I'm out in Idaho is where I live. And so it's like Eastern Idaho. It's kind of a wacky thing because it's like, basically like you'll be driving and it's in Gooding, Idaho. So it's like farms and ranches and you're like, wow, this is not that great. Like there's really cool wilderness elsewhere. I don't know why we're stationed out here. And then you just hit the BLM land and then it's just like, boom, sage desert everywhere. So it's cool. It's a very different climate from the Midwest where I've been living my whole life, but it's been good for the most part. Very strange time. But yeah. So been meaning to make a run back out to the Midwest in the summer because I'm not gonna be able to handle summer in the desert. So if any Catholic workers have an extra room in the summer, I'll be needing to retreat from the heat.
You can come visit us, but it's a little bit hot here in the summer.
Well, frick. I'll just keep going north. I have a really flexible work schedule, so I'm always like dreaming up these fantastical trips to do, and I'm like, I just got to start doing them. I'm too young and fun to be predictable. So I need to get back into Catholic workers. Make sure you guys aren't having too much fun without me.
And Alice, I'm sorry again to everybody, I was late for the meeting, but did you mention at all about the upcoming zine, the Catholic Worker Farmer?
Yeah, so it's not done yet. And if anybody wants to help me actually get it assembled, and my brain is a little overwhelmed. And I don't know, I'm having trouble focusing in my life. So yes, and really, if you have any little snippets of news, there's still time because the paper is not done. But yeah, and please, if your address has changed, let me know what it is so that I don't waste a lot of postage. And Marcus, are you gonna have a baby?
Yes, and I just sent out the prayer request for the whole world, especially for you prayer warriors, peace warrior prayer people. The exciting thing is that despite pandemic or endemic infertility in North America, Australia, and Europe, we were able to get a hold of somebody else's IVF leftovers. So it's rudely put as dumpster diving a baby or an embryo. So basically, when people do an IVF cycle, like an LDS couple might only want 13 kids rather than 20, but they put all those extra eggs in there. So the extra 7 eggs got to go somewhere. Embryos, yeah, they're not eggs, they're already fertilized. So ours was 4 years old in the freezer and only 4 days old when we got it in October 12th, Indigenous Peoples Day. So our baby was smart enough to avoid the Trump years for those 4 years, just chillaxing. And now she's coming into being. Her name's Lyra.
Lyra, beautiful.
Wow.
So please pray for us because there's some negative signs in terms of like a brain and heart health for the little one. But miracles happen, and especially when we pray for them to happen. They happen anyway when people don't pray. I've seen, you hear lots of stories of kids that are destined to be disabled, but then end up, born with half a brain and then become like brain surgeons when they get older. It's like just amazing things can happen with the human body. So thank you for your prayers for baby Lyra. Anybody willing to pray for her? But Alice, did you get a chance? Did you want to sing, or is it too late? Everybody's gone.
It's been my experience that Zoom singing is terrible. That it is a terrible experience.
My spouse is now a pastor at a United Church of Christ church in the Wasatch Range, and so I've been able to do that a cappella app thing where each person lays down a different track, and you can do it with good quality audio. It's just not live. So you're right about the Zoom thing.
Is Marcus in Salt Lake?
And with the Poor People's Campaign, what we do is like somebody will give a shout out, like forward together, and everybody responds, not one step back. So there's the chaos of the response, but the clarity of the voice from a single microphone at the beginning. That's one method, but we don't have that practice yet here.
Marcus, are you in Salt Lake?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm coming in the end of May.
Good. Just in time to, oh wait, our baby, well, we might have a preemie. So anyway, we'll see you.
Yeah, so you don't go to the Cathedral of the Madeleine though.
I've been there once. That's a good idea. I'd like to go back here. Alice, got a hand up. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
Great to see you.
Alice.
My niece is a cantor there.
Oh, she's a cantor.
At the Cathedral of the Madeleine.
Uh-huh.
So she's graduating from high school June 4th. So I'll be in to go to that graduation.
Out here in Goshute and Shoshone territory.
Yeah.
And so is their last name Cass, your niece, or different?
Weglars. My sister's last name is Cass, but she's a Weglars.
Weglars, okay.
So tall, longer blonde hair. She has a voice like an angel. She's beautiful.
And we've got Joan Thomas living with us, who's Ammon Hennessy's widow. She was pointing out Ammon, the church where they had their funeral for him.